Jack Miller sat in the control room of Space Station Freedom. The station floated in space near the edge of human territory. Through the big window, Jack could see only darkness and distant stars. He had been working here for 6 months now, and sometimes the days felt long and boring. "Sir, I see something weird on the screen," said Steve Baker, the young officer watching the radar. "It doesn't match any ships we know." Jack walked quickly to look at the screen. Could it be a Xerillian ship? The Xerillians were aliens who often cause trouble for humans in this part of space. "No, sir, I've never seen anything like this before. It's small, like a little shuttle." The object moved in strange patterns, as if the driver didn't know how to fly it well. Jack told everyone to be ready, but not to panic. They had fought with the Xerillians recently, so everyone was nervous. "The ship is coming towards storage. Area 3, Steve said. "Should I turn on the defense system?" Jack thought for a moment. The rules said they should defend the station from any unknown ship. But something told him this wasn't an attack. No shooting. "Let's wait and see what they want. Security team to storage area 3, but don't use deadly weapons." Jack took his gun and went down to meet the security team. As he got closer to the storage area, he felt the station shake a little as the strange ship attached itself to the station. Through the window, Jack watched the door open. What he saw surprised him. The alien was about 5 feet tall with shiny, blue-gray skin. It had 4 arms coming from a thin body, and big almond-shaped eyes that made its face look almost like a child's. But what really caught Jack's attention was the small, shaking figure held in its lower arms. Clearly a child alien. The alien looked at Jack, and somehow he knew it was female. She made a hand motion that anyone would understand. She was begging for help. Lisa Carter, the security leader, pointed her weapon at the aliens. "Sir, we should lock them up right now." "Wait," Jack said, putting his gun away. This didn't make sense. This wasn't a military ship or a government visit. The alien wore simple clothes that looked old and patched. The alien spoke, but her voice made musical sounds that the station's translator couldn't understand. When she saw they couldn't understand her, she pointed urgently to the child in her arms who looked sick and weak. She wants help for her child, Jack realized. As if to show he was right, the alien slowly reached into a small bag and pulled out several items. They were food packages, human food packages with Space Station Freedom written on them. "Sir," said Lisa with a sharp voice, "those are from our supplies. They've been stealing from us." Suddenly, Jack understood. The strange radar readings they had noticed over the past few weeks. The missing items from their supply count. This alien mother had been stealing food for her child. "Put your weapons down," Jack ordered, "and call Dr. Ryan to come here right away." While they waited for the doctor, Jack studied the alien mother. Her large eyes never left her child, and she stroked its head with one of her 4 hands. Despite her strange appearance, her worry was something any human parent would understand. She looked exhausted, with dark circles under her huge eyes and her clothes hanging loosely on her thin frame. The storage area door opened, and Dr. Susan Ryan rushed in with her medical kit. She stopped for just a second when she saw the aliens, then moved forward slowly. "The child appears dehydrated and malnourished," she said, scanning the small alien with her medical device. "I need to take them to the medical bay." "Is it safe to move them?" Jack asked. "We don't have a choice," Dr. Ryan replied. "The child needs treatment now." Jack approached the alien mother carefully, hands open to show he meant no harm. He pointed to the doctor, then to the child, and finally made a walking motion with his fingers. The alien mother looked at him for a long moment. Jack could see fear in her eyes, but also desperate hope. Finally, she nodded. "Lisa, have 2 security. Officers escort them to the medical bay," Jack ordered. "But keep weapons holstered. They're not prisoners, they're guests." "Sir, with all respect," Lisa argued, "they broke into our station and stole our supplies. Station rules say—" "I know what the rules say," Jack interrupted. "But rules don't always cover everything. This is clearly an emergency situation." As they walked to the medical bay, Jack noticed how the alien mother kept all 4 arms protectively around her child. Other crew members stopped and stared as they passed by. No one on Space Station Freedom had seen aliens like these before. In the medical bay, Dr. Ryan worked quickly. I don't know their biology, she admitted, but some basics are universal. This child is severely dehydrated and needs fluids. The alien mother watched everything carefully. When Dr. Ryan approached with an IV, the mother became agitated, making musical sounds that seemed distressed. She's afraid, Jack said. She doesn't know what we're doing. He picked up a water bottle and took a small sip, then offered it to the mother. She understood and took a tiny sip herself before allowing some drops to fall into her child's mouth. Good thinking, Dr. Ryan said. Show her everything before we do it. Jack demonstrated with the IV on his own arm. The alien mother watched, then slowly extended one of her child's arms. Sir? A voice called from the doorway. It was Steve from the control room. I examined their ship. It's very small with almost no supplies. The fuel tank is nearly empty. They couldn't have come far and they definitely can't go anywhere else. Jack nodded. Keep working on our translation program. I need to know who they are and where they came from. As Dr. Ryan continued treating the child, Jack noticed something strange. The alien mother was now watching him with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. Not with fear anymore, but with something that looked almost like recognition. She reached slowly into another hidden pocket and pulled out something that made Jack's heart skip a beat. It wasn't a weapon or more stolen supplies. It was a photograph of a human woman standing next to what appeared to be another alien of her species. Where did you get this? Jack whispered, even though he knew she couldn't understand him. The mystery had just become much deeper. When Vela woke again, the medical bay was quieter. The lights had been dimmed, creating a peaceful atmosphere she had never experienced on a spaceship before. She lay still for a few moments, testing her body. The pain in her leg and ribs had dulled to a manageable ache. A soft chime sounded as she shifted position, and moments later Paul Carter entered through a sliding door. He carried a small tray and smiled when he saw her awake. Good morning, he said cheerfully. How are you feeling today? Vela blinked at the greeting. Draconids never asked slaves about their well-being unless it affected their work performance. I can work, she answered automatically. The pain is manageable. Paul's smile faltered. That's not what I asked. I'm your doctor, not your supervisor. I want to know if you're comfortable, if you slept well, if you're hungry. The concept was so foreign that Vela struggled to find words. Yes, hungry, she finally admitted. Great. I brought some breakfast options. Paul set the tray on a table that swung over her bed. We don't know much about Azurian dietary needs, so I consulted with our xenobiologist. These foods should be safe for your system. Vela stared at the tray. There were colorful fruits cut into small pieces, something that looked like bread and a bowl of warm cereal. On the Draconid ship, slaves received nutrient paste once a day, gray, tasteless, and just enough to keep them functioning. All of this is for me? She asked cautiously. Paul nodded. Of course. Try whatever looks good. Vela hesitantly reached for a piece of yellow fruit. She paused, her hand hovering over the tray, years of conditioning making her wait for permission. Go ahead, Paul encouraged. You don't need to ask. The fruit was sweet and tangy, unlike anything she had tasted in years. Vela closed her eyes, savoring the flavor. When she opened them, Paul was checking her medical readings with a satisfied expression. Your nutritional levels are severely deficient, he said. We'll need to work on that. But slowly, your system needs time to adjust to real food again. As Vela ate small bites of each item, Paul explained her medical situation. Her leg had been set and treated with something called bone accelerators. Her ribs were healing well. In a few days, she would be able to move around the ship with assistance. The bomb ship? Vela said between bites of the warm cereal. What will happen to me here? Before Paul could answer, the door slid open again. A woman entered, wearing a uniform similar to Paul's but with additional insignia on the shoulders. She had dark skin and short black hair streaked with gray at the temples. Captain, Paul acknowledged with a nod. Doctor, the woman replied before turning her attention to Vela. "Our guest is awake. Good." Vela immediately lowered her eyes and set down her spoon. In her experience, making eye contact with authority figures led to punishment. "My name is Captain Laura Simmons," the woman said, her voice firm but not unkind. "Welcome aboard the Horizon." Vela kept her gaze down. "Thank you for allowing me on your ship, Master." An uncomfortable silence followed. Vela tensed, wondering if she had made a mistake already. "Look at me, please," Captain Simmons said softly. Vela obeyed, bracing for whatever might come next. On this ship, in fact, in all of Earth Alliance space, there are no masters and no slaves, the captain explained. "Slavery is forbidden under our laws. You are not property. You are a person who has been rescued from an illegal and immoral situation." Vela's mind struggled to process these words. No masters? Not property. These concepts contradicted everything she had experienced since her capture. "Then what am I?" she asked, genuine confusion in her voice. "A refugee," Captain Simmons replied. "Someone who has fled dangerous circumstances and sought safety. We provide refuge to those in need, regardless of species." Vela looked from the captain to Paul and back again. "What will you require from me in return for this refuge?" Captain Simmons shook her head. "That's not how it works. Basic safety and dignity aren't commodities to be traded. Once you've recovered, we'll help you decide what you want to do next. Return to your homeworld, perhaps, or resettle in Earth Alliance territory if that's safer." The concept of making her own choices seemed overwhelming. Vela had not made a real decision in 3 years. "For now," the captain continued, "focus on healing. Dr. Carter will continue overseeing your recovery. When you're ready, you'll be given quarters of your own and introduced to the crew." After answering a few more of Paul's medical questions, the captain excused herself, leaving Vela with more to think about than she had faced in years. 3 days later, Vela sat in a wheeled chair as Paul guided her through the corridors of the Horizon. Her leg was still healing, but the doctor insisted that movement and a change of scenery would be good for her recovery. The ship was nothing like the Draconid vessel, where the claw of dominance had been all harsh angles and exposed machinery. The Horizon featured smooth curves and comfortable spaces. Most shocking was how the human crew treated her. They smiled, nodded greetings, or introduced themselves, without any sign of seeing her as lesser. "These will be your quarters," Paul said, stopping before a door. It slid open to reveal a small but comfortable room with a bed, desk, chair, and what appeared to be a private washing facility. "It's not huge, but it's yours while you're with us." Vela wheeled herself inside, marveling at the space. "This is for me alone." "Of course," Paul replied. "Every crew member has private quarters. You're not crew, but you're entitled to the same dignity." Dignity. Another concept that had been stripped from her for so long that it felt almost uncomfortable to reclaim it. On a small table near the bed sat several items: clothing in her size, basic toiletries, and a small electronic device. "That's a personal tablet," Paul explained, picking up the device. "It connects to our ship's information system. You can read about Earth and the Alliance, access entertainment, or communicate with crew members." He demonstrated how it worked, showing her simple games, music selections, and a messaging system. The technology was intuitive, designed for ease of use rather than to exclude those without technical training. "Why?" Vela finally asked, setting the tablet down. "Why do all this for someone who can offer nothing in return?" Paul considered the question seriously. "Because it's the right thing to do. Helping others isn't a transaction for us, it's a principle." Vela wasn't sure she believed this, but she nodded anyway. Over the next week, Vela's life transformed in ways she could never have imagined. Her leg healed enough for her to walk short distances with a supportive brace. She had regular meals in the ship's common area, where crew members often sat with her, asking about her culture and sharing stories about Earth. A technician named Darius Williams noticed her interest in the ship's systems and invited her to observe some routine maintenance work. When Vela hesitantly suggested a more efficient approach to power distribution in the section, Darius didn't dismiss her. He asked questions, considered her idea, and implemented it. "That's brilliant," he told her afterward. "You just improved efficiency by almost 4% in this section." Vela waited for him to take credit for the improvement when he reported it to his supervisor. Instead, he specifically mentioned that the idea had come from her. The supervisor, a woman named Kelly Martinez, thanked Vela directly. Thanks. Not demands or grudging acceptance, but genuine appreciation for her contribution. The concept was as alien to her as the humans themselves. That night, as Vela lay in her private quarters, she stared out the small viewport at the stars. Somewhere out there was her homeworld, which she had almost forgotten during her years of slavery. Somewhere were the Draconids, who would recapture her if they could. And here, on this human ship, were people who treated her with a kindness that still made no sense to her. She got up and went to the small mirror in her washing room. The blue woman who looked back at her seemed different somehow. Her iridescent scales had regained some of their shimmer. The constant fear in her eyes had diminished slightly. She was still thin, still scarred, still jumpy at sudden noises. But something had changed. For the first time in 3 years, Vela slept through the night without nightmares of punishment, without waking in terror at imagined alarms calling her to work. Instead, she dreamed of twin moons over crystal forests, and of a world where kindness didn't have to be a trick or a trap, but could simply be a way of life. 2 weeks after her rescue, Vela still found herself acting like a slave despite the freedom she had been given. Old habits were difficult to break. Each morning, she woke before the ship's day cycle began. She made her bed with military precision and stood ready for inspection, an inspection that never came. In the ship's dining area, she took the smallest portions of food, even though no one limited her choices. When crew members dropped items or made minor mistakes, Vela flinched, expecting punishment that never happened. Most troubling to the humans was her habit of working without breaks until she nearly collapsed from exhaustion. Paul found her one evening in a maintenance bay, helping Darius with non-essential repairs long after her medical clearance for light duty had expired for the day. "Vela," Paul said gently, "you've been working for 10 hours straight." She looked up from the circuit panel she was fixing, confusion on her blue-skinned face. "Is my work unsatisfactory?" "Your work is excellent," Paul assured her. "But humans need rest. And so do Azurians." Darius set down his tools. "He's right. I didn't realize how long we'd been at it. I was about to stop anyway." Vela knew this wasn't true. Darius had mentioned at least 3 more tasks he wanted to complete before ending his shift. She recognized the lie as kindness rather than deception, which still felt strange to her. On the Draconid ship, lies were only told to avoid punishment or gain advantage over other slaves. "I don't require rest yet," she insisted. "In the Draconid mines, we worked 20-hour shifts." Paul's expression darkened at this information. That wasn't work, that was torture, and it's not how things are done here. As they walked back to the residential section of the ship, Paul asked carefully, "Have you been sleeping well?" Vela hesitated. The truth was that she hadn't. Despite the comfortable bed and private room, she often woke in a panic, certain she had missed a work alarm or that Draconid guards were coming for her. "I sleep adequately," she answered, the standard response expected of a slave. Paul didn't press, but the next day a human woman with dark, curly hair and warm brown eyes came to Vela's quarters. She introduced herself as Maya Wilson, the ship's counselor. "I help people process difficult experiences," Maya explained as they sat in Vela's room. "Dr. Carter thought you might benefit from talking about your time with the Draconids." Vela tensed. "To improve my efficiency?" "No," Maya said with a kind smile. "To help you heal. Not just your body, but your mind." The concept was foreign to Vela. Draconids cared about physical health only as it related to work capacity. Mental suffering was irrelevant or even desirable, as it made slaves more compliant. Over the next hour, Maya asked gentle questions about Vela's life before captivity. At first, Vela gave short, factual answers, but gradually, memories long suppressed resurfaced. She spoke of her family, her training as an artist before being reassigned to technical work by her captors, and the color-based harmonic language of her people. "I haven't sung in 3 years," Vela admitted. "Draconids punished any cultural expression." "Would you like to sing now?" Maya asked. "This room is soundproofed for privacy." Vela shook her head quickly, fear flashing across her face. "I can't," she whispered. Maya didn't push. Instead, she showed Vela breathing techniques to help with panic attacks and explained that her reactions, the hoarding, the flinching, the overworking, were normal responses to trauma. "Your brain learned these behaviors to survive," Maya explained. "In simple terms, it will take time to unlearn them. Be patient with yourself." A few days later, Communications Officer Nathan Boyd sought out Vela in the common area. Nathan was tall and lean, with light brown skin and a quiet manner that made Vela comfortable around him. "We intercepted some Draconid communications," he explained. "Captain Simmons thought you might help us understand some technical terms they're using." Vela followed him to the communications center, a room filled with screens and listening equipment. The idea that humans would value her knowledge still surprised her, but she was learning to accept their requests without suspicion. On a screen, Nathan showed her a series of Draconid transmissions. Vela recognized technical codes related to weapon systems and patrol routes. "This section here," she explained, pointing to a specific sequence. "It's coordinates for a planned raid. They always mark slave acquisition targets with this prefix." Nathan's expression hardened. "They're planning to attack another world for slaves?" Vela nodded. "The code suggests a small colony with limited defenses." Nathan immediately reported this to Captain Simmons. Within hours, the Horizon changed course to intercept the Draconid raiding party. Vela watched in amazement as the humans mobilized to protect people they had never met, of a species they might not even know. During the mission briefing, Captain Simmons publicly acknowledged Vela's contribution. "Thanks to the information provided by our guest, we have the opportunity to prevent a tragedy." The humans in the room nodded or voiced agreement. No one questioned why they should risk themselves for strangers, or suggested leaving the unknown colony to its fate. Their unity of purpose was unlike anything Vela had experienced outside her homeworld. The Horizon arrived at the colony, a small settlement of insectoid beings called Kratal, just as the Draconid ship entered the system. What followed was not the one-sided slaughter the Draconids had planned, but a confrontation with a prepared Earth Alliance vessel. From the safety of the communications center, Vela listened as Captain Simmons warned the Draconid commander to leave the system or face consequences. The reptilian voice that responded was chillingly familiar, harsh, arrogant, dismissive of the primitive humans who dared to interfere. But the Draconids withdrew. They had expected easy prey, not resistance. After they left, the grateful Kratal leaders invited the human crew to visit their colony. Captain Simmons asked if Vela would like to join the shore party. "The environment is compatible with your physiology," the captain explained. "It might be good for you to feel solid ground beneath your feet again." Vela agreed, though anxiety twisted in her stomach at the thought of leaving the ship's safety. Paul noticed her nervousness as they prepared to depart and offered her a small communication device. "If you feel overwhelmed at any point, just press this button," he said. "I'll come find you immediately. No questions asked." The simple acknowledgement of her fears, and the absence of judgment about them, made Vela's chest tighten with an emotion she couldn't name. The Kratal colony was built into cliff faces, with sprawling gardens filling the valley below. As the human delegation toured the settlement, Vela gradually relaxed. The Kratal were peaceful, their culture focused on botanical sciences and astronomy. During a meal with the colony's leaders, one of the Kratal asked Vela about her homeworld. She began to answer with the brief, emotionless response expected of a slave, but then stopped herself. Instead, she described the crystal forests and dual moons of Azuria with more detail, even mentioning the color songs her people used for their most important communications. To her surprise, the humans and Kratal listened with genuine interest. They asked questions not to test her knowledge, but because they wanted to understand her world. Later, as the delegation prepared to return to the horizon, a young Kretal approached Vela and presented her with a small potted plant. Its leaves changed colors in response to sound vibrations. "For your songs," the Kretal explained in broken standard language. Vela accepted the gift with trembling hands. No one had given her anything in 3 years. That night, in the privacy of her quarters aboard the Horizon, she placed the plant near her bed and, for the first time since her capture, attempted a simple Azurian color song. The plant's leaves shifted from blue to purple in response, dancing to the vibrations of her voice. It was small and imperfect, nothing like the complex harmonic art she had once created. But as she watched the plant respond to her song, Vela felt something she had almost forgotten, a sense of self that existed beyond survival, beyond utility. She was not just an escaped slave. She was Azurian. She was Vela. And maybe, just maybe, she was beginning to understand what the humans called freedom. 1 month after her rescue, Vela sat in the observation lounge of the Horizon watching the stars. Her body had healed completely. The plant from the Kretal colony sat beside her, its leaves shifting in gentle waves of color in response to the ambient sounds of the ship. Paul found her there, as he often did during his off-duty hours. In the weeks since her rescue, they had formed a friendship that still surprised Vela. On her homeworld, friendships developed over years. Among the Draconids, friendship was a dangerous weakness. But humans seemed to form connections quickly, valuing them as essential rather than frivolous. "We've received an interesting transmission," Paul said as he sat beside her. "Captain Simmons wants to see you on the bridge." Vela followed him through the ship's corridors. She walked with more confidence now, no longer pressing herself against walls when crew members passed. Some even greeted her by name, which still gave her a small thrill of recognition. The bridge of the Horizon was a spacious command center with a large view screen at the front. Captain Simmons stood at its center, examining star charts with her senior officers. "Vela," the captain acknowledged with a nod. "Thank you for coming. We've picked up a distress signal from a ship at the edge of this sector. The language pattern is unfamiliar to our translators, but Commander Boyd thinks it might be Azurian." Vela's heart quickened. "May I hear it?" Nathan played the transmission. The sound that filled the bridge was not a spoken language, but a melodic sequence of tonal shifts, a color song translated into audio form. Vela closed her eyes, letting the familiar patterns wash over her. "It is Azurian," she confirmed, her voice trembling slightly. "It's a diplomatic vessel requesting assistance. Their propulsion system is damaged, leaving them stranded." "Captain," Simmons didn't hesitate. "Set course to intercept, maximum speed." As the Horizon changed direction, Vela struggled to contain her emotions. After 3 years believing she might never see another of her kind again, the prospect of reunion overwhelmed her. "Would you like to send a response?" Nathan asked gently. Vela nodded. With Nathan's help, she recorded a simple message in her native color song, identifying herself and explaining that help was coming aboard a human vessel. The Azurian ship was small and elegant, with crystalline elements in its design that caught and refracted starlight. As the Horizon approached, Vela stood on the bridge, her hands clasped tightly to stop their trembling. "They're responding to our hail," Nathan announced. The view screen activated, showing the interior of the Azurian vessel. 3 blue-skinned figures appeared, their iridescent scales shifting with emotion when they saw Vela. "I am Ambassador Naren," the central figure said in careful standard language. "We are most grateful for your assistance." Captain Simmons welcomed them and invited them to dock with the Horizon for repairs. After completing the necessary protocols, Vela went to the docking bay, Paul walking supportively at her side. When the airlock opened and the Azurian delegation stepped aboard, Vela finally faced her own people after years of isolation. Ambassador Naren and his 2 companions stared at her in disbelief. "Vela?" one of them asked. "Vela Kierson of the Southern Crystal Collective." Vela recognized the speaker, Talon, a scholar she had known before her capture. Yes, she whispered. The Azurians approached cautiously, looking from Vela to the humans and back again with clear suspicion. Are you free to speak? Talon asked in their native language. Vela understood their caution. I am free, she replied in color song. Truly free. The humans rescued me from the Draconids. The ambassador's scales darkened with doubt. And they expect what in return? The question didn't offend Vela. She had asked the same thing herself many times. Nothing, she said. That is what I found hardest to understand. In a conference room, Captain Simmons met with the Azurian delegation while Vela translated. The ambassador explained that they were seeking allies against increasing Draconid expansion into their sector. We have heard stories, Ambassador Naren said carefully, of human ships freeing slaves and opposing Draconid raids. Many thought these were just hopeful myths. Finding Vela aboard your vessel, healthy and speaking freely, it confirms what we hardly dared believe. The Earth Alliance stands against slavery in all forms, Captain Simmons stated firmly. While we cannot commit to specific military action without proper diplomatic channels, we are certainly open to discussing mutual defense agreements. As the meeting continued, Vela noticed the Azurians watching how the humans interacted with her. They observed how Paul asked if she needed a break, rather than demanding continued translation. They noted how Captain Simmons valued her input on technical matters related to Draconid tactics. They saw humans treat her as an equal, not as a tool. During a break in the discussions, Talon approached Vela privately. You seem different, he said in their language. I am different, Vela acknowledged. Slavery changes you. Freedom changes you too. There are many of our people still in Draconid hands, Talon said quietly. If what you say about humans is true, they could be powerful allies. Vela nodded. I believe they would help, not because of what they might gain, but because they believe it is right. Such thinking seems... Talon searched for the word. Impractical? Vela suggested. Naive? Revolutionary, Talon finished. The meeting was interrupted by an urgent message from the sensor officer. Captain, a Draconid battlecruiser has entered the system and is approaching our position. The atmosphere in the room instantly tensed. Ambassador Naren's scales paled with fear. They must have tracked our signal. Captain Simmons moved quickly to the bridge, the others following. On the view screen, a massive Draconid ship approached, its weaponry clearly visible. They're hailing us, Nathan reported. On screen, the captain ordered. The image of a Draconid commander appeared, his scaled face and yellow eyes filling Vela with instinctive terror. She recognized him. Commander Zrath, notorious even among the cruel Draconids for his brutality toward slaves. Human vessel. Zrath's voice grated harshly. You have interfered in Draconid affairs for the last time. You will surrender the stolen Azurian property aboard your ship immediately, including the slave you took from our vessel. Vela felt herself shrinking back, years of conditioning making her body respond to the Draconid voice with fear. But then she felt a gentle hand on her shoulder, Paul standing beside her with quiet support. Captain Simmons stepped forward. The individuals aboard this ship are not property. They are people under the protection of the Earth Alliance. I suggest you withdraw from this system immediately. Zrath's reptilian features contorted with rage. You will regret this defiance, human. Surrender the slaves now, or we will take them by force. They are not slaves, Captain Simmons repeated, firmly. They are free people, and this ship will defend their freedom with all necessary force. As Zrath issued threats, Vela noticed something on the tactical display. 3 more ships had entered the system, Earth Alliance vessels responding to the Horizon's alert signal. Zrath noticed too. His yellow eyes narrowed as he reassessed the situation. The Draconids preferred easy targets, not battles with equal opponents. This is not over, he snarled before cutting the transmission. The bridge crew watched tensely as the Draconid ship altered course and moved away from the horizon, eventually jumping to faster-than-light speed. In the silence that followed, Ambassador Naren turned to Captain Simmons. "You would have fought them for us." "Yes," the captain said simply. The ambassador's scales shifted through a pattern Vela recognized as profound respect. "We have sought allies against the Draconids for years, finding only those who would help for significant payment or territorial concessions. Yet you risk your ship and crew for strangers." "Not strangers," Captain Simmons corrected. "People who deserve freedom and safety just like everyone else." Later, as the Azurian delegation prepared to depart in their repaired vessel, Ambassador Naren offered Vela passage home. "Your family believes you dead. They would rejoice at your return." Vela looked at the faces around her. Paul, Captain Simmons, Nathan, Maya, Darius, and others who had shown her kindness when she expected only cruelty. Then she looked at her fellow Azurians representing the home she had thought lost forever. "My home awaits," she acknowledged. "But there are thousands of Azurians still enslaved by the Draconids, and countless others from different worlds. I can't go home knowing they remain in chains." She turned to Captain Simmons. "If it's permitted, I would like to stay aboard the Horizon. As Earth's first Azurian liaison, I could help build the alliance that might one day free my people." The captain smiled. "I think that could be arranged." Ambassador Naren nodded with understanding. "You have changed, Vela Kirsten. Perhaps all of us must change if we are to defeat the Draconids." As the ambassador prepared to board his ship, Vela approached Paul. "You once asked why I thought humans show kindness to those who offer nothing in return. I still don't fully understand it." Paul considered this. "Maybe kindness isn't about what people can give you. Maybe it's about recognizing that every person has value, simply because they exist." Vela watched the Azurian ship depart, carrying news of humans back to her homeworld. Beyond the viewport, stars stretched into infinity, harboring both the cruelty she had known and the kindness she was still learning to trust.